Here's a look at the Miyoo Mini Plus. It's a retro gaming handheld about the size of a Game Boy Color, but this thing can play anything from NES classics to PlayStation games. And it also supports a feature called Retro Achievements, which brings some modern style achievements into retro games, which I have been loving. I'll get more into that later, but I've been using this thing for a few weeks now, and I gotta say, it's a ton of fun. Super portable way to relive some of my favorite old classics. But here's the catch: setting it up can be kind of a pain. So, is it worth it? Well, let's get into it. First, though, let me show you why this thing is so much fun after you get it set up. It supports a huge range of consoles, so everything from Atari to Game Boy to PlayStation 1. And the entire thing runs off of a micro SD card, so you can fit a pretty solid library of games right in your pocket. For perspective, Super Mario World on SNES is around 600 kilobytes, which means you could fit around 60,000 copies of that game on a 32 gigabyte SD card. Okay, obviously PlayStation games would be a bit bigger, but you get the idea. Even the most basic card will be more than enough to run this thing. And that right there is what makes this thing so great. You can load up tons of games on this thing and just have them ready to play whenever you want. And it's super portable, the screen is fantastic, and I really have been loving being able to just pick it up and jump into some of my favorite classics anytime I get a free moment. Super Mario runs really smooth as expected, and the D-pad feels pretty great on this. Have you ever made it through a full week of Paperboy? This game is still frustrating as ever, but it runs great. Game Boy Advance games run really smoothly, but they have a slightly different aspect ratio, so you'll have to deal with the black bars or stretch it to fit. I've always been pretty awful at Sonic, but it does run smoothly even with the fast-paced graphics. It also handles PS1 games surprisingly well. I've been playing Crash Bandicoot a little bit and it runs smoothly, I haven't had any issues. Even more complicated 3D games like Tomb Raider seem to run pretty well. I will say though, the more complex the controls get, the more likely you are to struggle a bit. There are 4 back buttons here, so technically you have everything you need, but the device is small enough that it starts to feel cramped, especially if you have larger hands. I'll be honest though, I don't think the controls were the problem here though. Aside from just gameplay though, I've always been a huge Zelda fan, but I somehow completely missed out on Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. Like, does it suck or something? I don't know why I missed this, but I'm hyped to get in there and check it out. And speaking of games that I didn't know existed, this thing also introduced me to the world of Pico 8. Pico 8, if you haven't heard of it, is a tiny virtual console for indie retro style games. It's also a platform for building this style of games, so anybody can build them and submit them to the community. I started with a really simple game called Balloon, and now I just feel like I've opened the door to a whole new world of games that I didn't even know I was missing. Also, I grew up playing Game Boy and SNES games, so I completely missed out on the Atari era. And getting to experience games like Pitfall for the first time has been surprisingly fun. Honestly, I thought I'd check it out just to see what games were like in the 80s, but I ended up playing it a lot longer than I expected. But retro means something different to everybody, so let me know in the comments, what's the oldest game you've ever played? Oh, and by the way, everything I've shown so far is running on an alternative menu system called Onion, which makes everything way smoother and easier to use. The default setup works, but Onion adds a simpler UI and some really cool features that I think are worth the time to get it set up. It adds Game Switcher that lets you easily swap between games you've been playing recently. My favorite is Retro Achievements, which adds some modern challenges to classic games. For instance, I've been trying to get a flawless 150cc Special Cup run in original Mario Kart, and also defeat the dungeon bosses in Zelda without taking any damage. It just adds a fun extra level of challenge to some classic games. I mean, who doesn't love unlocking achievements? It's great, and now you can do it on retro games. You can also customize the entire look and feel of the system using themes. If you like the one I've been using, it's called Cyber Onion. You can even easily download box art for all your games right from the UI. Alright, so the Miyoo Mini Plus is a fantastic, well-built, portable system for playing your favorite retro games, but setting it up the first time isn't exactly plug and play. I'm pretty new to playing retro games in the modern day. I also just got the Miyoo Mini Plus, but here are some things I think you should know that I learned if you are also looking to get into it. The included SD card is not great, so save yourself some trouble and just buy one from a reliable brand instead. Also, finding ROMs, which are games, can be a little bit tricky, legal gray area, but searching for ROMs megathread online will get you where you need to go. As great as Onion is, it is still pretty frustrating that you buy a device and need to install a whole new menu system just for it to run nicely. And a strange thing with Onion is it does not like special characters in your Wi Fi password, so watch out for that one. Don't let all that scare you though. It's not that bad. I'll link videos that help me the most in the description. Okay, so those things are a little annoying, but the good news is once you get it set up, the Miyoo Mini Plus is totally worth the effort. It's rekindled my love for a lot of games that I grew up playing, and even some I missed. I want to hear from you though. What is the first game you'd play on the Miyoo Mini Plus? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and happy gaming.